Is there kedusha or holiness to going to work and making a living, right? I'm not asking the question, is it important? Because I think everyone knows where we stand on that. Certainly it's important, but is there holiness in doing so? We might find the answer to that question in Parshat Naso. Right, so in Perek Zayin, right, we have a description of items that are given to the Levium, to the Levites, to help them carry the Mishkan as the tabernacle as the Jews move place to place in the desert. The Levium are the ones charged with taking apart and putting back together the Mishkan, and they're charged, of course, with carrying it after they take it down. They carry it to the next place before they put it back up. Right? How did they do it? It's very heavy. So in Perek Zayin, chapter 7, Pasuk Vav, verse 6, right? Vayikach Moshe et ha'agalot ve'et ha'bakar. Moshe takes the wagons and the oxen, vayiten otam al halavim, and he gives them to the Levium, because that's how they're going to carry the very heavy items from place to place. Right? They're given to different families according to, some families get more, less, whatever it is. And then we read that the children of Kehat, that particular Levi family, Lo Natan, they don't get oxen, they don't get wagons. Ki avodat hakodesh alehem, right? The service of holiness is upon them. Bakatef yisau, they have to carry those items on their shoulders. And Rashi says, what are those items that are avodat hakodesh? Right? So Rashi tells us that's the aron and the menorah and the shulchan, right? The aron is the ark. The menorah, of course, the candelabra. The shulchan is the table that has the weekly showbread. Right? Those items are holy. And a lot of them, Mefarshim note that there are two different terms used, right? Those items that are carried are called, this is in Pasuk Hey, Avodat Ohel Moed, right? There's the stuff that refers to the structure of the Ohel Moed, the tent. And then 4 verses later, there's Avodat HaKodesh, right? What distinguishes between Avodat Ohel Moed and Avodat HaKodesh, right? It seems to be actually very simple. Right, the location of those vessels in the Mishkan or the Mikdash. The Aron is in the Kodesh HaKadashim, right? The Ark with the tablets is in the Holy of Holies. The Menorah and the Shulchan are in the Kodesh, right? They're in the regular Holy, but that kind of put together is generally labeled Holy, right? The Holy and the Holy of Holies, that's called Kadosh. Those items are so important, they have to be carried by hand on shoulders. They cannot be just thrown in the back of a cart and pulled by animals. That all makes makes a tremendous amount of sense. And then Rav Aryeh Leib Steinman, in his commentary to the Chumash, right, in a somewhat staggering piece, right, asked the following question. He says that, right, he quotes from Rashi that these are the 3 items: the Aron, the Shulchan, and the Menorah. And he says, I understand that in the Aron there is Kedusha, there is holiness, because the Luchos are there and the Torah, right? But what Kedusha could there possibly be, he says, in the Shulchan? The Shulchan simply holds the showbread. Now, Rav Steinman, right, he knows very well, right? He was an enormous Talmud Chacham, enormous. He knows that the menorah and the shulchan sit in the Kodesh. But nevertheless, he's bothered, right? Because there's Torah, there's the Luchos and the Aron. That's holy. Everything else is not holy. What holiness could there be in the table? Right? But maybe the answer is actually quite simple. Right? That the Torah believes that there is holiness. There is value, not just necessity, in working and being productive, in supporting oneself and one's family. There's actually Kedusha there. And if we see the menorah as branches of wisdom, there's holiness in that too, right? Those items are holy. Now, we should be careful. They're never going to be as holy as the Torah. The Torah sits in the Kodesh HaKodashim. That's the ultimate holiness. Everybody agrees to that, right? The most important, the holiest, no question. But is there holiness in other branches of wisdom and going out to the world? Seems from Rashi the answer is yes, because all three of those items, right, not only the luchos and the aron, but the menorah and the shulchan, all of them are deemed kodesh, all of them are placed in the kodesh, and all of them are so important that they have to be carried by hand or by shoulder and not thrown in the back of the station wagon. It's a fascinating perspective on our non-Torah kind of daily activities. Has to be done right, of course, with honesty and search for true spirituality, but you can find holiness in those items as well. Shabbat Shalom.